A couple days ago, I made a video talking about the upcoming More Shards, which is the daily login reward programs, but I also talked about this little thing down here. I think you guys can see this, right? The order of the buffs. And so since I've reached out to Plarium, have gotten some answers, I want to report that for you guys today, but I also want to point out that I don't think it is working correctly, at least not for all the champions. Let's jump right in. So apparently there is a way to know the order of the buffs that are going to be applied on your champions when you look at the tooltip. For instance, we have Mausoleum Mage, which I have been using for a very long time to counter torments, and when I first got him, I thought I was going to get the block debuffs first, then the increased crit rate, and then the increased defense. But then if we look at the icons at the bottom, we see that they are in a different order. According to Plarium, and this is their words, this is how it is hard-coded into the game. So the order of the buffs that you see on the tooltip, the little icons, are actually the order of the buffs that are going to be applied on your champion. So if we do a quick auto here on our Mausoleum Mage, we see exactly that happening. Now this is a problem against torments because each of those buffs have a chance at triggering a freeze, so you will get frozen before you get the block debuffs, rendering this sort of useless. I said, alright, I get that that's how it works. It turns out that a lot of other champions actually work this way as well. So I gave them a couple of examples, and I wanted to get that information as to, is the order correct, right? So for example, we have a Sepulchre Sentinel here. When we look at her skill, it says increase defense and then block debuffs, and we see that in the right order on the tooltip. Fantastic. But then we have other champions like, let's say, Duchess here, where it says block debuffs, increased attack, and perfect veil according to the icons, yet when we read it, it says increased attack, block debuffs, and then perfect veil. So in other words, don't pay attention to how it is written, pay attention to the order of the buffs in there. But since I've been trying to apply that to all the other champions that I could be using to block debuffs first, and there is one of them that I am not convinced is working correctly, so let me quickly show you guys what I mean. We're going to remove our Mausoleum Mage here, and we're going to grab our trusty Achok the Windarin. Let's go back into this Doom Tower floor here and see it happening. So we buff up with our Arbiter, then we go into our Tormin, and then we're going to go into our Achok the Windarin here, and we see block debuffs written first. Then we see 25% strengthened buff, and we see the tooltip as well in the same order. All right, so in this case, it's actually written correctly, and we see the proper order on the tooltip. But then if I hit auto here, I get strengthened first, and then block debuffs. So again, I don't think that this is working correctly. I don't know what this whole hard coding about, but it is misleading. If I get a champion, or if you guys present me a champion and I decide to build him with this in mind to be a counter for something, but then it's not working as intended, I think that's a little bit unfortunate for most players who end up using the resources to do it. All right, so this is going to be just, like I said, a quick presentation of what I think is not working correctly, but I have pointed this out to Plarium, so we're going to wait and see how exactly we can fix this. Now, is there other champions that do this as well? Maybe. I have not gotten around to testing them all, but here's other examples that you guys might want to test on your own. I don't have a marked build here, but I do believe this one is doing it correctly. It says block debuffs and then increase defense. So we have block debuffs, increase defense. We also have another one called, you know, the Sifi, right? You guys have a Sifi? I don't. And it's the same thing here. We have block debuffs, increase defense, increase speed, which is exactly what we see on the tooltip right there. But then I thought maybe it has to do with the amount of buffs being applied. What if it's an increased defense for 2 turns, but because it's a block debuffs for 1 turn, it's automatically going to go to the end of the list. So there is one little test I can do real quick here to help us determine if that's the case. So I got myself a marked from the vault. I just quickly ascended her, or I started ascending her, but we're going to do 2 things. I'm going to put marked in here, if I can find her right here, before she gets her A3 ascended, so that it's the 60% increased defense. We're going to go in this quick run here and test it. We're going to know, right? So we're going to speed boost. We're probably going to speed boost again because we're so slow. Yeah, we are. And then we're going to go and apply the block debuffs and 30% increased defense on all allies, written correctly, but also the correct order on the tooltip. Let's see what we get. And we get the block debuffs first and a smaller version of the increased defense. So then what if that's because it's a small version of the buff, right? So maybe the block debuffs for whatever reason has a better value than, let's say, the block debuffs. So let's just go quickly in here and ascend this marked to level 3. All right, so now we're going to get the bigger version of that skill. Let's go back into the Doom Tower and try that one more time, and then we're going to let Plarium answer this for us. So let's find her again. She is right here. Let's go and let's try it. All right, boosting up speed. Here we go. Boosting up again, speed. And now we have block debuffs, 1 turn, 60% increased defense, buff on all allies for 2 turns. Applying it once again in the correct order. So it has nothing to do with the total amount of turns for each buff. All right, so I don't know what else is going on here, guys. Maybe you know more. Please let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, I will try and do a little bit more testing, but I'll also wait for Plarium to confirm. Hopefully you guys have learned something. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later.